Autobots, roll out! Paramount is all set for its next big project. After Bumblebee brought a huge success, they're tirelessly working on Transformers Rise of the Beast. It all started back in 2007, but the franchise still has a pretty strong base. Stay with us until the end, as we have some really great news to share with you. So let's jump into the story with a short recap. Transformers Rise of the Beasts will follow up the story of Bumblebee, and it'll be the 7th installment. The studio is likely capitalizing on what worked there for this newest installment, since Bumblebee was the first movie in the franchise to receive an overall positive critical reaction. Paramount is not backing away from the Transformers. The Transformers first appeared as a cartoon back in 1984. In those days, nobody could have imagined that it would become this popular almost 40 years later. As we said, the Transformers franchise consists of 6 movies so far, 5 of which were directed by Michael Bay, and the spin-off movie Bumblebee was directed by Travis Knight and released on December 21st, 2018. When we first saw Bumblebee's trailer, we thought that the prequel movie could act as a soft reboot. However, the origin story of one of the most loved Transformers, set in 1987, 20 years before the first movie, doesn't appear to have much connection to the Michael Bay's work. Soon after, the director Travis Knight confirmed the movie will be part of that group. The fans were concerned that with Bumblebee, the continuity will fall apart. And they may be right, but if Paramount doesn't want to make a sequel, they can always start a brand new Transformers timeline. The decision to include Sector 7 was maybe one of the biggest continuity issues. They end up working with the Decepticons, who succeeded to convince them that the most dangerous criminal they need to hunt down is Bumblebee. Sector 7 works like this is the first time they've ever seen a Decepticon. But wait a minute. Haven't they already been using Decepticon technology? That was established in the first Transformers, right? People would say that they don't actually know he's a Decepticon, but how many giant robots can you find in space? There's a lot going on in the last Transformers movie, even for longtime fans. Bumblebee brought us a new kind of Transformers adventure, a storyline focused more on characters than screen-shaking action sequences. The story takes us back to the moment when the spunky 18-year-old Charlie discovered the titular Autobot in a scrapyard. Bumblebee's concluding act pushes its protagonists to be quick to their feet and unflinching in their choices. And all of that is easy for B, who proves willing to smash that like button just like you should do if you haven't done so already. But no, B is willing to selflessly drown himself in a flood if it means taking the Decepticon shatter with him and saving humanity. Charlie shows her bravery by diving into the water to rescue B after the waters overtake him. The move is more than just a rescue, it also represents Charlie reconnecting with her past as a state champion diver, an activity she rejected after her father's death. Bumblebee marks the start of a new timeline, and it's very likely that Paramount will continue the franchise this way. Talking to Deadline, Knight said, "We didn't put so much mythology in it that it was off-putting and hard to understand by the audience. I wanted everybody to be able to walk into this movie and understand it and appreciate it and enjoy presupposing no familiarity with the franchise. In my mind, I wanted to make sure the movie was standalone, but I imagine adventures to come." Long story short, at the end of the movie we see Optimus Prime and the other Autobots coming back to Earth in a great family reunion with Bumblebee. And all of this happens after Bumblebee sends them a beacon, with B being the only Autobot on the planet. And when will the movie be released? Well, we have bad and good news. Transformers Rise of the Beasts was originally set to debut exclusively in theaters on June the 24th, 2022. Unfortunately, Paramount has pushed back the release date, so the movie will be delayed until June 9th, 2023. It's been a few months since the decision has been made, and no explanation has been given. Considering its previous placement in the 2022 slate, Transformers 7's release date delay is quite curious. It was scheduled to come out 1 week after Pixar's Lightyear and 2 weeks after Jurassic World Dominion, but it had its opening weekend all to itself practically. The movie is now 1 year away, but the good news is that it's the final date. This gives Capel Jr. and Paramount plenty of time to complete the film in post-production. It should also give additional time to do any reshoots. After Michael Bay got in charge of the Transformers, Paramount began shifting the series in a new direction. This led to the plans to reboot the franchise and the development of Bumblebee. The studio spent a few years following the main installment of the series and developing different ideas before finalizing a deal with Stephen Cable Jr. Now let's talk about the cast.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Next time you shoot somebody, don't go near them till you're sure they're dead.
It's been confirmed that none of the human characters from the previous movies will return. We're sure only about one name. Peter Cullen is coming back, but as the voice actor for Optimus Prime. Cullen is the voice of the Autobot leader since the original 1984 animated series, all 6 previous live-action, and numerous follow-up series. Ron Perlman is also set to join the voice cast as Optimus Primal, the leader of the Maximals. Primal is somebody who'll do whatever it takes to win the fight. He's brave and honorable, and does everything to protect his friends. More Maximals such as Arizor, Cheetor, and Renox will appear as well, but we still don't know who's going to take their voices. The human cast will be led by Dominique Fishback and Anthony Ramos. Fishback is playing Elena. She's a researcher in the museum, and Ramos will portray Noah, a former military member and an electronics wizard. Alongside these two, we'll watch Luna Lauren Velez and Toby Nwigwe, even though their characters are still unknown at this point. Let's jump into the plot. As we said before, Bumblebee got the best reviews in the franchise. A huge part of that had its setting in the 1980s, and it seems like that got into the critics lauding the nostalgic feel. Now the movie makers, to recapture what worked in Bumblebee, will set Rise of the Beasts in Brooklyn in 1994. We'll see characters from past animated series, such as the 90s Beast Wars show and the original 1984 series. We can expect to see Terrorcons, Predacons, and Maximals, all of them in the battle between the Decepticons and Autobots. One thing is sure, there will be villains that have never been seen before, and there will be Autobots that have never been seen before. The electronics expert Noah and the researcher Elena will find themselves in the conflict of the Beast tribes. We get to pair everybody up against each other, so it becomes a grand finale epic Transformers experience. When the Terrorcons disrupt our movie, you're gonna feel it. But it's really Terrorcons who are the leading villains, said the producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura. Classic Autobots will be back, so we can all sleep peacefully. Stephen Caple Jr. is the director after all. What else could we expect? Rise of the Beasts will bring a slightly different perspective to the franchise. When asked de Bonaventura what makes Caple the right director for this movie, he said, "Smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell." But no, in all seriousness, he said, as we looked at what has been the most successful parts of the franchise, it was delivering heart, humor, and action. It's that combination, so we were looking for a filmmaker who showed a great deal of ability in communicating emotion because, in some respects, you have a leg up with these giant robots. Looking at his films, after meeting with them, and after hearing what he wanted to do, we had a script at the time, but where he wanted to push it was exactly where we were hoping. See you in the next video.